Welcome to the Reclaim Leader podcast. I'm Jason Tucker.
And I'm Jesse Skiffington.
We're two pastors in the trenches who are passionate about church health for greater gospel impact.
We share the ups and downs of ministry, strategies that worked for us,
and some that didn't.
Best practices and practical tools for church leadership.
The goal, to help all of our churches flourish. Let's get started.
See another sunrise, sing a little song.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reclaim Leader. Jesse, it is good to be back. And if anybody watches this on YouTube, you know we're wearing the same clothes as last week, which means we just did the last episode because we like to batch record these.
That's right.
So that's why we do it, I swear.
Plus, I like your shirt, I like my shirt.
Yeah. But I am.
Did you cross out LA or Oakland and write Las Vegas on there?
It's a long list. I keep crossing out. They keep moving, but it's all right. But yeah, anyway, good to be here, and hope everyone's doing well as we're like launched in the middle of September, and things are going. I know in our church, we started the new worship schedule. Thank God, people showed up.
They did. They came.
At all three services.
Nice. Good job, Jason.
Which was so fantastic.
Did anybody throw anything?
Not
give you dirty looks?
That I am aware of.
Maybe a few dirty looks, I bet, though. Maybe. Just
for sure. But no, it was good. There was a lot of really good energy, and I know that was something that has been a stressor for a year. Yeah. And so it's really cool. We all walked away from it saying this was the right move.
Nice.
Which is really nice to be able to do that after all.
That's so good when you get a win like that after a lot of hard work, and I'm sure there'll be some bumps along the way. But the first initial, it sounds like, is, hey, this was a good thing. So we're going to be talking today about another thing that's been a good thing for you and I in our churches, and it has to do with our STAR approach to pastoral care. How do we be a caring family as the church without that becoming the mission, or really the central focus of the pastor's job? And, depending on your church size and the church size dynamic stuff, it can function a little bit differently. But what we want to do today, Jason, is just kind of talk about our approach to congregational care. And we titled the episode, Congregational Care is a Team Sport. Because if we all do it together, then that means as pastors, we can do our part, but we can also make sure that we're doing what we most need to do, which is focus on the vision and mission and the task of making disciples who make disciples. So we're going to jump into that. I am sure as people are hearing that, I don't know if that causes your back to kind of be stressed and you're like, congregational pastoral care. I mean, it's just a lot sometimes of expectations that get put on us around that.
Yeah, that's just it. It's the expectations. I remember the first church that I served, I was following a pastor who had been there, I want to say 35 years or something like that. And his main gift, everybody acknowledged, was pastoral care. And there were stories, I've shared this before, but I don't know how many episodes ago, but there were stories of him leaving his personal vacation. There was one story, he left his personal vacation because their son broke his arm, and he went to the hospital where the son was. Unbelievable.
Come on, Jason.
Completely unsustainable. And I'll say this.
Yeah.
It was clear that that's really all he did every day. And I'm sure he found that was his main gift. Sure. But it didn't leave much time to vision, to do other things, because it was all eaten up by sort of being everyone's personal chaplain, which that's right. I don't know that that's a good model of the church.
It used to be, the Christendom model, a shepherd teacher, we were there to care for the flock and instruct them in the theology and the way of Christ. And so in some ways, maybe that focus on pastoral care is a carryover from a bygone time when most people were some version of Christian and we just stewarded the community that God had given us or whatever. And now in a post-Christendom, in many ways, post-Christian era, we need to be outward focus. The Great Commission to go and make disciples becomes the primary focus again for healthy churches. And so, but we're still navigating this dynamic of expectations around pastoral care. And man, it seems like the high care needs show up right when everything else shows up too, which is always a good reminder for me about why it needs to be a team sport. So, September's here, we're jumping back into the year. All the ministries are launching back. We have fall kickoff. We have, training events. We're doing a lot of things to get the sort of the fall ministry up and going. And of course, in the midst of that, we've had some real things going on in the lives of real people. So I was telling you, I have 3 memorial services in the span of 10 days. We have a family that's navigating some serious loss. I had one of our college students that's away reach out to me and say, hey, I would love to come down and meet with you. I'm thinking about getting engaged. Just want to talk to you about that. We have a couple of marriages that are on the rocks and they just need help. And then there's, one of our great families in the church that work in the construction industry. He got in an ATV accident, broke his arm, needs help, and they need care. And so it's like an onslaught of care. And what I've been grateful for in the midst of that is that we have taken a team approach to care in the congregation. And it just reminded me of how vital that is. So I just want to talk a little bit about our approach, and you can share yours. And so that maybe for you as a pastor out there, if you're still feeling that burden of expectation of doing all the care or most of the care, that you can begin to shift that around a little bit through a strategic team approach so that you can focus on other things as well as the care that you do need to be involved in. And so you had your example of your pastor there and leaving vacation to come and visit somebody
which is funny. The thought occurred to me, what if that story's not true and it just got embellished?
It was apocryphal, Jason. They just used it against you. Yeah, I don't think that was a true story. But
I think that's what they believed about him.
They did believe that, right? And the apocryphal, the probably actually true story here at Marine View, part of our history and our DNA is that this caring family was the founding pastor, Ted Haig, visited every family in the church every single year. It's in the history books. It's like printed in bold. Like, here's what a pastor is. They're someone who knows everybody, who's invested in everybody's lives, and probably Ted left vacation to come and deal with some crisis along the way. Yeah. So, and again, some people are called to that. Maybe that was his gifting and wiring, and the church was maybe a little bit smaller in those days, a little more manageable to do that. But I don't think that's a sustainable approach anymore. And we just have to get that into our heads and hearts that we can't be that for every single person in the church. And in fact, it runs really counter to the express instructions of Scripture that we're called to equip the saints for works of service. We're not supposed to do it all. And when we begin to fall into that trap, for me, it's like, well, what's missing it from my life that I feel like I need to be everything to everybody? Or what am I doing that's actually taking away opportunity for other people to function in the body of Christ by serving and caring for the community? So I think there's
ministry belongs to the people to do.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So we got to give them.
So how do we reframe congregational care and make it the team sport that it should be?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a real question, because most of us inherited the pastor shepherd pastoral care model. And if the pastor doesn't come, the visit doesn't count, right?
Yeah, well, and even here at Marine View, we had another layer to that was, yes, the pastor helps create the vision for pastoral care and leads a lot of it, does in-home communion, visits people in the hospital, and all those kinds of things. But then even at our deacons level, so we had deacons in the church who were partners with the pastor in pastoral care. So we're beginning to move toward a team approach, except that the expectation for the deacons was similar as it was for the pastor. The deacons are the one that do the care ministry of the church. They are the one who go. They're the ones who visit. They're the ones who do the meals. They're the ones who make a funeral, reception. They're the ones who fill in the blank with whatever they're supposed to be doing, right? So even there, we said, as good as it is that the deacons are a partner with the pastor in caring for the church, what if we thought of it a little bit differently and said, you know what, the deacons are not there to do all the care. They're there to facilitate a caring community, to be the team that leads the charge in organizing the whole community to care for each other. And that's where things really began to change for us. That was probably 10 years ago. And we said, you know what, the deacons are not the ones who do all the care in partnership with the pastor. They're the ones who facilitate care by creating other teams or ministries that can help people to care for one another. And that was a big shift for us to go from, okay, you don't have to do it all, but you can help create systems and process to facilitate it all. So our deacons have care teams within their structure that the whole congregation is invited to be a part of. So meal trains, hospitality, visitation, yard work for someone who, has a health issue, can't do it themselves. So there's these sub teams that then everybody's invited from the whole congregation to say, hey, I can be on that list. The next time a need comes up for meals, count me in. Or, hey, the next time somebody needs their lawn mowed because they can't do it themselves, send me an email and I'll be a part of that effort. So we began to really diffuse the care ministries of the church out through the whole congregation. And you could just feel sort of the burden lifting from all of us who it kind of been on our shoulders.
Yeah. How did you make this transition with the congregation when you said, hey, we're going to move to this new model? Because I'm sure that took a little explaining.
Yeah.
And it took some buy-in.
Yeah, and I think a lot of transparency, but it also came with a really clear vision, right? We think we're better when we care for each other, and you're in the best position with your friend to know what their needs are, or the person in your small group to know what your needs are. And part of our strategy was also to help our small groups be the ones to care for each other, or to make a need known, so that we could care for them. And so, yeah, I think at first there was some people who, especially when it came to the pastor not being the one to show up, that was an adjustment. For some, still is an adjustment. They're like, unless the pastor visited, it didn't count or something. But that's less and less the case. And I think in the early days there was a hopefulness about this vision because we also knew there were other things that we wanted to be about. And for the key leadership anyway, we kind of said, yeah, this is the direction we need to go. And actually, in order to actually meet the actual needs of our community. And what we had noticed happening was that needs were slipping through the cracks in our current model. Our deacons and our pastors, we were not enough of a resource to cover all the needs of the whole congregation. And so a lot of times people would just stay quiet about the needs in their life or whatever. And so alongside this, we not only said, we're going to take a team approach now. The deacons are going to facilitate care by organizing the whole congregation into teams to care for each other in these various ways. But we also, alongside that, say, so in order for us to meet a need, we have to know about it. So if you have a need, make it known. And so on our website and in our materials, we have kind of a two-sided deal. On one side, it's I can help with the need. On the other side, it's I have a need. And we just said, we want to facilitate helping care for each other in this way. And so I think there was that positive vision of we're going to miss less and we're going to be more present with each other by going this direction.
Yeah. What's like the blocking and tackling of that? So how have you arranged the teams in such a way that, like, how does it work? Paint the picture for us.
Yeah. So let's just take an example. So, and we've kind of, shifted our focus on what are the core teams that we need for care. And I think we had for a while, we had way too many teams. Like it was like, there's every eventuality we're going to be prepared for. Right? And then we were like, no, what's a reasonable amount of need for the church to meet? Because we're a limited resource, even the whole community. And so here's a for instance, if someone has a need or knows of a need, they'll either call the church office or they'll submit a form on a Sunday morning in writing or through the church website. It dings here in the church office. We go, oh, there's this need. Or maybe it shows up relationally through a small group or a staff member knows about the need. So once we know about the need, then we contact our deacons and say, hey, here's this need. What's the right team to reach out to let them know about the need and then help them to do it? So in the case of this young family where the dad has a broken arm, can't work right now, we're organizing meals for them. So I found out about the need through a staff member here, let our deacons know. They were actually already ahead of me on it. They knew already too, which is great. And then they reached out to the meal team and said, hey, here's the need. Here's the dietary restrictions. So we're going to mostly do gift cards for them this time. Who can help with this? And then they send a sign-up genius out to the team, to the folks that have signed up to be a part of the meal team. And then people sign up and they do it. So you can see the sales funnel at the top is knowing about the need and then addressing it to the appropriate sort of team within, and going from there. So that's just one example of how we try to tackle this.
That's helpful.
Yeah. So another couple of things alongside this is we also created some purpose statements or some vision around why we care for each other in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with why we are the church just in general. We are this caring family of God. We are that. And God loves us. That's a part of why God made the church. But God also made the church not just for us. The church is not an end in itself. It's for the sake of his love for the world. And so we think about care. We try our best to think about care as helping people get to a healthy place so that they can continue to live on mission and grow as disciples. So there's a purpose to care that is not just be nice to each other and love each other, but love each other for a purpose of helping get back on your feet or get back to a healthier place. And I think that also gives some greater sort of, meaning to the work of care, that we're here to help each other get well so that we can live on mission together to go make disciples. And that's an important part of the ethos of our care as well. It's not just care for care's sake, it's caring for a purpose.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, and for us, it's one of the big reasons why we've really emphasized small groups in the last several years is because the vision is for small groups to handle congregational care as it organically arises in the group. And so one of the things that we train our small group leaders to talk about, or when our small group leaders get trained, they get trained on talking about pastoral care and when to shoot it up the food chain.
Yep. And when can it be just something that we look out for each other, right?
Exactly right. So a lot of the meal trains and stuff happen, and I don't even know they're going on because they're all just taking care of it themselves, which is what I really like.
And I love that when we hear about a need that has already been met and it's like, oh yeah, my small group or my community group, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fantastic. I mean, that's like, that's the church being the church in this little sort of microcosm of the whole. So that's awesome.
I really like that. But also we have like a hotline, if you will, like an email. It's like help@towerhillchurch.org. And then,
excellent.
And we get a lot of need that comes through in our prayer corner. So in our worship service, contemporary service, we have volunteer staff that hang out after the service. If anybody needs more prayer. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of need comes up as well. And so I think if you have different ways you can catch the need, then you can address it. And so a lot of it's like, if I get something, I know that it's already been filtered and they need a pastor, and then we can see which pastor's available.
And that's the other part of the conversation, Jason, is once you kind of have this model, whatever is going to work for your church. I think when we presented the idea, it actually felt really good for a church that cares about each other. Oh, we're all going to care for each other.
Yeah.
So it felt really good. And then, of course, there's mechanics about how we try to engage everybody in that. And we have a care team Sunday. Our deacons get up and talk about the teams and invite people to sign up to be a part of one, that kind of thing. And that does a whole lot to address so many different needs in the church. But there are times when you or I, as pastors, or maybe the people who have been trained in particular ways, it's time for us to step into a need or a care concern in the church. And but it also then we have the bandwidth to do that because we haven't been doing every single other thing along the way as well. So I don't know, what are some of the things that kind of rise to this is Jason's territory for care, or the things that you kind of you hold yourself out for?
Yeah, I think there's some broad strokes. I think people who are in crisis and feel like they need to speak with a pastor, that usually gets bumped up. I think also if somebody has specific theological questions that they're trying to sort out, nobody wants to rock and roll with those, right? It's like, okay, you need to talk to a pastor. Or if it's just kind of life questions and they feel like, they don't necessarily feel like they need to go to therapy, but they want to connect and talk about these things. It's usually to do with some sort of past baggage that they have that they're trying to work their way through. And I think that's good. And I do the same thing. I don't just meet with people forever. We'll meet a couple of times, then it's time to refer. If you need counseling, I'm going to refer you rather than kind of do that all on my own. So those are the sorts of things that get bumped up. Also, if I have a good relationship with somebody and they have a need, it usually is a little bit on a fast track to me because I'm close with them. So
if one of your staff members or an elder is going through something, that's probably you. And if that's or somebody in a group that you're in or whatever, like I tend to take that approach too. It's like if they're a relationship that's closer in, it's not favoritism. It's just, this is what I expect others to do, to care for the people that are closer in with them. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And then of course there's the crisis stuff, the emergencies and the counseling piece. I think I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I think we can feel really helpful to people because we've been trained, but we also got to know that limit where it's time to hand that off. Right. So I don't know. It sounds like your limit is about 3 meetings. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 or 3. And I usually tell them, I said, I'm not a counselor.
That's
and my goal is not to give you advice. And if I do ever give advice, it's not as a counselor because I always try to be really clear because I'm not a counselor. So I want them to get the
you don't want to mess things up in their lives more. Right?
That's my biggest fear. Do no harm. That's really my
giving advice and then having it go sideways when they follow it, and now they're mad at you in the church and whatever. So you got to handle those things.
I remember in seminary, there's like one of the few times I spoke to a real life pastor, and he said somebody was asking him about counseling, and he said, "I don't give advice."
Yeah.
And someone was like, "What? Why?" And he said, "Well, because if it goes wrong, they blame me. If it goes right, they'll never leave me alone."
Yeah.
So they'll come to me with everything if it goes right, or they'll blame me and there'll be a wedge between us if it doesn't work.
Yeah, we want people to figure out how to stand on their own 2 feet, and we can encourage people. And sometimes if somebody really pins me down, is like, you're asking me all these open-ended coaching questions to try and help me decide what I should do for myself so I have greater buy-in to do it. Like, thank you. What do you think? I'm like, so what's the wise thing to do? Well, I mean, if it's clear in scripture or something, it's like, there's some things we can say sometimes, but we got to manage that really carefully.
Exactly right. Just be very, very careful.
Yeah. So, I mean, the kind of the reason for this conversation today was just, I was like, man, we've got a lot going on, and I'm being stretched from a care standpoint right now in this particular stretch, but I can't imagine what it would be like if the expectation was for me to meet all the other needs that are going on right now too. And it made me really grateful for our team approach to congregational care. And I'm sure, folks out there, you guys have strategies for this, but it's just a reminder to pay attention to this, to maybe get back into the weeds a little bit, look at your system and your process, and beyond managing yourself as a resource, what this has really helped us do is not have as many things or people slip through the cracks.
Yes.
Paying attention across the whole life of the church. And I'll never forget the day that I got into the office. I hadn't checked my voicemail on Sunday, so it was like Tuesday, and there was a phone message on my phone in my office from Saturday night. And there was an older woman in our congregation whose family reached out to the church. They didn't have my number. She was dying in the hospital, and they wanted me to come visit. And we didn't have mechanisms in place for that need to be known or passed along at that point. And so that caused a lot of hard feelings, and it was a big one to have slip through the cracks. I mean, there's reasons why that happened, but it was just, how do we make sure that we can know about the needs and then also care for those who are in need for the sake of the mission? So anyway, so just wanted to touch base on this again. We haven't talked about this in a while. So
no, that's good. That's super helpful. And where do you think, kind of as we land the plane on this idea, if you're I've seen churches do some really cool things. New Providence Church, New Jersey, they did a thing where they had their deacons were flock leaders, and they divided their congregation geographically, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah,
neat idea.
Kind of do like a parish approach.
Yes, I like that a lot. In fact, we're exploring that again. I think here in this next year. But where would you recommend a church starts? So, I mean, let's say you're a new pastor to a church and you've inherited this model, or maybe it's just always been the expectation, but you feel like this is the right way to go to make it more of a team approach, where would you start if you were doing it over again?
Yeah, I think I would start with what are your own motivations in doing this. So if you're doing it because you don't like to deal with people and you just want everybody else to deal with stuff, that's probably not the right motivation.
Yeah.
Or if you're continuing to do way more pastoral care than is reasonable because you feel guilty if you don't, like kind of explore the motivations a little bit. And then I would say getting a couple of key leaders, like anything you do in the church, you get a task force or a small team and say, hey, what's our strategy for congregational care, not pastoral care? How do we care for each other in the church?
Yeah.
And who's going to do what? And then start to think about, given the size of your church and the various dynamics, what is going to make sense for us for a model where we have a congregation that's able to care well for each other. And that can look like a lot of different things, but starting with that conversation of what's our strategy for this is probably the most important first step that you can take. And if you don't have a strategy, like anything else, it's going to come back to your plate over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that would be my 2 cents. Just start thinking about a way to get the ball rolling on a more comprehensive approach that invites the congregation to care for each other. And that'll go a long way for you.
Well, that's good. And I would say in leadership, this is the thing we're trying to avoid. We don't want to become the lid on the organization. If everything has to filter through us, talk about things falling through the cracks. Way more is going to fall through the cracks. And we're actually going to end up not doing great care.
Yeah, we're going to be stymied and we'll be bottlenecked around us and we'll be the natural lid on our organization, or we're going to miss a lot of stuff. So we don't want that. We don't want that in a lot of areas. So yeah.
Good stuff, Jesse. I appreciate this topic a lot.
That's right. Now get out there today, Jason, and visit at least 6 people. And I need you to visit every family at Tower Hill in the next 365 days.
All right. We're going to start. We'll start that tomorrow. Anyway, so hey, thanks for listening, everyone. You can reach out to us, Jason or Jesse, at reclaimleader.com. We're going to have some guests, I think, coming up soon. We got to schedule a couple of interviews coming up, but you'll let us know if there's somebody you want us to interview. I think it's nice to kind of hear what are some directions or some voices that you're listening to that you'd love for us to talk to. So again, as we move forward, we think ministry is a team sport. And what we always say is for us leaders, we need to be encouraging one another and helping to equip one another to do this, because it takes constant vigilance as we seek to lead congregations. So as we say each and every time, because we mean it, ministry is hard. It is so much better when we do it together. All right. Take care, everyone.